Welcome to the Fantasy Pavilion, your home for fantasy sports.
Yes, guys, welcome back to the Fantasy Pavilion, your home for fantasy sport. We are back for the Hungarian GP coming up this weekend, joined by Michael and Ishmael. Good evening, fellas.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, good evening.
All right, so of course, before we jump into that, we should, of course, discuss the awesome result that occurred in Silverstone. Of course, if you don't know by now, you should know that, of course, Lewis Hamilton won his first race in a very long time, showing people that he still has it. Of course, it was a great race, one of the best races for the year so far. Michael, what do you think about that statement? It was one of the best races for the year, not just because
I
Lewis won, but really was.
no, I think from the start, the action from the jump, it was really, really a great race. It win. I wouldn't say it didn't have a lot of boring moments. Maybe in the middle of the race, it probably had a couple. Okay, guys, they're just going around in track, but it was a really, really action-packed race from start to finish. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, at one point, you thought Max would have taken it from Lewis because he was catching him coming down to the end, but to me, it was a really great race.
It was a solid
For
race.
me, when you say it had a couple of boring moments that it was just winner track, uh, uh, it was also at the same time, yes, they were going around track for like, let's say, 5-10 laps without any much action. But it was like, okay, well, we know rain coming, who's going to pit first? And the
Correct. It
anticipation
was
kind
a
of was
strategy
building
game.
up.
It had you thinking.
The anticipation was building up, who's gonna pit first, who's gonna,
Hmm.
make the mistake and go in too early, who's gonna wait all too long. So at the same time where it had a couple of laps with no overtaking or anything like that was happening, there were a lot of anticipation building up as well, which for me made the full race a very entertaining race for the full thing.
Correct. Yeah.
Because I was watching it, I think a little bit after the fact, before seeing the results and stuff. I was kind of sometimes I just have to watch it a little bit after. And throughout the whole thing, I was like, okay, I'll just skip ahead a little bit to watch you start skip ahead a little bit. And I couldn't skip, even when it was just going around the lap, going around the lap, going around the lap,
Correct.
because there was so much anticipation of, okay, what are they going to do? What strategies are they going to see? So it was entertaining overall, I would say.
Yeah, because by lap 4 and lap 6, engineers were on the radio saying, we're expecting rain in the next few laps. What do you want to do? And it had a lot of discussion between, okay, was he tired to go on? When is it time to pit? And I think the first 4 drivers is who got it correct. I mean, I would say 4. Let's Piastri is not in that 4, because McLaren left out Piastri and that hurt his race. But I think, as I said, it was a really great race. I think when Jordan and I spoke about it, we said that is the race to have watched if it is you want to get into F1, because the
Correct.
only element of F1 that did not feature in this race would have been a safety car or a virtual safety car or something like that. But other than that, you got a little bit of everything. You had some quick pit stops. You had some really hard racing on track, meaning to say fighting for position. You saw where and how important strategy is in Formula One, how big a difference tires can play, and when to use them or if they're used in the correct conditions. Because I mean, those guys went on inters. It didn't have that much water on the track. They had to go fishing for puddles. And then after a few, probably I think it was like 3 or 4 laps after running in the dry with the inters were destroyed and they just could not stay on the track. So I think the only time that I've seen a driver kill the inters and still have the tire work is Lewis. I think back in 2021 at the 2021 at the Turkish Grand Prix, where he won his 7th title because he just kept on the tire and went wrong. And at the end of it, there were parts of the inter that was smooth. So it turned into intermedium. I think I started calling it for a while. But that's, yeah, no, the British Grand Prix was beautiful. I think it's beautiful to have Lewis win his home Grand Prix after such a long time of no victories. I think it was 340 something days. So
Hmm.
nearly nearly a full year, it's 2 years, 2 seasons went by without him winning without him winning a race, which is crazy to think that of somebody who has won a race in every season they have been in Formula One to go a gap like that. And I think it was for him a very much of a Valtteri Bottas moment in the sense of to whom it may concern. When it is Valtteri coined a phrase to say that I still got it. Don't
Yep,
write me
yep,
off as yet. Don't think I don't have it, because and he showed so much elements of Lewis, not just his skill as a driver, but his experience in the sport, because it's more than a decade, more than 12 years that he's been in the sport, and this man, he used all of that experience to know when to go on tires. When it is Bono jumped on the radio and was like, "Okay, Lewis, we're thinking to go to Inter." He said, "No, boy, it's a dry track out there."
yeah.
So I think that shows where it is the experience beat out guys like Norris and thing too, because they didn't know when to switch back from inters to media. And that kind of, so as I said, the British Grand Prix was just the perfect package of what F1 is. Clean racing, because there weren't any big set of accidents, there was no major accidents, and it had great overtakes. It had fun leading. You had a little bacchanal when Lewis and George were fighting, and both of them went off the track, and then Norris caught them, and then Norris passed. It was just the perfect package of a race, and I think I definitely want to see more races like that.
And I think the scriptwriters couldn't get it any better. Lewis winning his home Grand Prix with Mercedes on the last, before the contract finishes, and he moves across the Ferrari.
Correct.
Nice send off for the team, for the people who support him within the camp. So
I think it was depressing. Somebody pointed it out on Twitter. They said Mercedes went from celebrating titles with jerseys for everybody at the factory and a whole talk and thing to celebrating a race victory. Because the Monday after the race, that's what they did. They were back at the factory, everybody had on jerseys and stuff, because it was just that special. But I think too, it shows the quality. So people will say, "Oh well, George won the race weekend before." George was gifted that victory. Lewis fought for his victory, and I think that is something too to remember.
You mentioned something key there, right? The strategies, the tire changing, when to go and when to pit. Someone who got it spot on as well. You know what I'm going to say? No, Lance Stroll got it because he went in the same time as Max. Pick up Lance Stroll, right? I want to put some respect on Lance Stroll's name.
Stroll also could have just been Stroll and Aston could have also just been following whatever Max.
Right, but a strategy is still a strategy, and it worked. Right, a strategy is still a strategy. You understand? But big up your top 10, of course. Tsunoda. You got to talk about Tsunoda a little bit. Tsunoda has been incredible this season. Has to be noted. Of course, we'll always focus on your top 4. We have a consistent top 4 going, but have to big up Tsunoda, right? Albon in 9th, where we haven't spoken much about Albon. I haven't seen much of Albon, but recently has been doing his thing.
Williams had a car last weekend, which is impressive.
That's it.
If you watch it, a lot of the teams that ended up on top are the British teams, or the teams based in London. So
London, yeah, correct.
I think it's notable that a lot of their cars would be, I guess, tested around Silverstone. That'll be one of the tracks. That will be the track that all of them would have done their media day launching, all of the filming and stuff. And as much as those are media days, as soon as Zaka hit that track, that new car, they start trying to get every bit of information they can. So I think from the British teams especially, Silverstone will always be a track where they deliver, which is why I think I see Williams up there. And it was really nice to see them up there.
Now, and of course, we have to big up the two Aston Martin. So, of course, Alonso there, Stroll there. Have to big up Hulkenberg as well too. He had a great weekend. My goodness.
Like this, the past two races, Hulkenberg finishing the points, and
Come on.
everybody
Come
just
on.
forgets about it because the race before it was Lando and Max accident, and then this weekend it was Lewis winning. And it's like everybody just forgets about Nico, who just casually ended up in the points both weekends in a Haas. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And
big up,
so
big up
Haas
Nico.
might be something to look at in the fantasy if you're looking for cheap
It
options.
is,
It
yeah.
have no cheap options right now. It's tough here. Right? Of course, big up Signs. He has been a bit quiet, but doing his thing again as always up there.
So while we on
Mm,
signs,
mhm.
I know if to talk about it one time, Ferrari seems to have kind of dropped off a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think the latest upgrade they made wasn't the way they wanted it to, and I think they might take a few um, tries to get that corrected. So I
So
don't
what
know
it
if it's
is?
time to come off a bit of Ferrari assets for the moment.
So what it is I was telling Jared is that they did bring out updates. I think it was the last race was British. Before British was who? Canadian,
Austria.
Austria,
Well,
and then I think before that was Canada.
Yeah,
Canadian.
They
Yeah,
brought
correct.
they brought upgrades in Canada, and Leclerc was running it for Canada and um Austria, and it wasn't really working. And they reverted him back to the Muller spec car that Carlos was running, and they found out it was running better. So whatever that upgrade they brought, it just did not comply with the car and the tracks that they went to.
Hmm.
So I think that is where they took the step back, and it shows you just how volatile the sport is and how important proper upgrades can. It could really push you back. Um, would I say rule out Ferrari yet? I don't think so. But
at
and
least
people who
for the
saying,
next one or two.
I mean, yeah, until they catch back themselves, I would be cautious. And then for people who saying, "Oh, Lewis gonna try and see if he could get back out the contract," that's BS. Lewis signed that contract seeing the developmental part that Ferrari was going with, not based on their current season.
Lewis also has a 10-year
Yeah.
contract, if I'm not mistaken. He again, I
With
know else.
that, and
Includes
then
the
to the
ambassadorship and stuff.
ambassadorship and everything that he wanted.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
he
he
didn't
ain't now.
sign. He didn't sign with Ferrari because of the season. He signed there for the future, and I think 2026 is going to be a shakeup for everybody. So clearly, he saw what Ferrari is doing. Sorry, and you could see the investments that Ferrari are making in the background because they're buying up and trying to buy up some of the top designers and technical people in the sport in the background. I mean, the rumors of Adrian going across to Ferrari are all over the place, and I desperately want it to be true.
I don't think it
But
is. I think they said it's either Austin Martin or McLaren at this point.
yeah, but I mean, you never know. Everybody is a Ferrari fan, as Seb said.
Yeah, but I think he purchasing the where he looking for home, if the rumors are true, is out of the Ferrari, unfortunately.
Okay.
All right. So great. Strolling up the road. So Piastri, we spoke about Piastri and Norris. Norris had it. It's just the strategy messed him up, but
The
that will come with
strategy, and
time.
then Norris took some of the blame too and said he didn't make the right call as to when to go in for
Yeah.
tires, and he
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah.
But
He
So-
I
didn't.
think
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
was just too harsh with himself. It's like, that little kid that make a mistake and there's the end of the world and you're ready to kill
Yeah.
yourself. I was
Right.
like,
You don't.
Norris,
Yeah,
you
bro.
don't need to be so harsh with yourself,
Nah,
bro.
you did great. You did great.
Yeah,
I still,
baby, still in
yeah.
the sport.
Come on, doing real
well,
good,
could
bro.
you say that? Because how long he here now? Almost, I'd say closer to a decade than half a decade, right?
Yeah, but a baby in terms of winning, he not accustomed winning. So
Yeah, and then
winning,
too,
winning will bring that. Winning will bring that mentality and bring the experience.
and that
So
experience, so although he
yeah.
there a while, I think to know when to switch from inters and then to, if you could probably, I mean, okay, fine, karting days and Formula One days, he probably had a good few wet races in him, but to be the pressure of being at the front of the grid fighting for a podium, knowing when to come in mixed conditions at your home Grand Prix, when it is your teammates already fall off, so you're carrying the brunt to the points. I feel like that's a level of pressure that Norris is not accustomed to, and is something he will develop over time. Whereas Lewis is just a bit more adept to that. because I mean he's just there a lot longer. And I will call Norris a baby because at the end of the day, he probably there. He joined Formula One in what, 2017, 2018. So yes, you said closer to a decade, but he's still not as experienced as
Yeah.
Max and Lewis and that kind
Yeah.
of thing. And then two, it's just an edge they have. Meaning to say,
Mm-hmm.
aside from experience, I think they have that racing
Generational
knack.
talent.
Yeah, not to say that Norris doesn't have it by any means. Nobody jump in my chat and say he's a dog, but I think Norris still has a lot to learn, and he's still relatively young in his sport, and he will be a world champion one day, in my opinion. It's just a
To,
matter when.
to be fair to him, I think the team should have made the call for the last tire switch
They
to
should
go on
have.
to the mediums. I don't think that was necessary for him to
He
make
should
that.
have gone on to the hards, but they were just studying Lewis and not Max behind them,
No,
and that
Yeah.
is where their
well,
problem came in.
I think the problem was they wanted to be a little too cautious and not you know,
Yeah, they were afraid that they came out on the hards and he tired and he
and then
turn
it
on in
didn't work
time.
as yeah. So if
Correct.
you want to do that, you had the new mediums. You could have used the new mediums. To be
They had
honest,
an extra to mediums.
they had a new medium and they had hard and soft. They had new everything. So for them,
But you
like
see,
going
the
on to
thing
the
is,
softs didn't make sense.
Yeah,
but
but
Norris as well said that the soft hasn't been working on their car for the entire season. So even knowing that, they should not have gone
yeah.
on to the soft because they know the soft has not been working on the car that well.
But
And
yeah, you think
Mhm.
the last you think that last weather switch is what real messed them up, right? Forget
Yeah,
strategy, forget nothing. Because everything was what they did, the first switch, all right, cool. But I think the last weather switch up threw them off, and then the track was drying up way quicker
yeah,
than it was drying up very quick because people was trying to find puddles and stuff and whatnot, and they weren't.
to cool
And
off
I think
tires,
so.
correct, yeah.
Yeah, so I think all those. I think so. I'm not gonna. I know we're not being harsh on them. We're not because of. But I think that is what threw off everything. I'm not saying they
Yeah,
shouldn't be prepared, but I think that threw them off a little bit. The
and it's not
extra
just him, it's the
weather
team
switch.
as well. The team
Yeah,
started
of
to beat
course,
themselves
of
up
course.
about what they did with Piastri because at the end of the day, they had the possibility to have both cars on the podium.
Both cars on the podium. Correct is
And they
right.
threw that away because they were afraid to do the double stack. And if it is
Yeah.
they had double stacked, Piastri should have been right there with them
Right
the entire
there.
race.
At least he would have either be fighting Max and would have give Lawrence the push
No, and that's it.
to be up there.
If it is Piastri had done the double stack, if you watch where Max was at the end of the race, he was catching. Well, he caught Norris, but
Caught
if it is
Norris.
Piastri was
If
in
they had
play,
3 more, yeah,
he would have
correct,
had to pass Piastri to
Correct.
then get to Norris.
correct.
So honestly, I would put the brunt to the blame on McLaren and not Norris. I mean,
I
And
wouldn't
the
Norris
fair,
phrase
the
it as
fair.
blame, right?
missed
I
his
mean,
stop.
his decisions to make.
Yeah, decisions. Yeah.
So they
But
made decisions that, in retrospect, everything in
Correct.
retrospect looks
But
different, right?
I was
no,
telling
but
Jared,
you can't
is
even
they
you
were
can't even
afraid
say
of the
that.
double stack.
Yeah, they were just afraid because
Because
yes, you can
if it
look
is
back,
remember
but
recent history, Red Bull and McLaren, Red Bull and Mercedes are one of the only teams to really double stack like that. So Ferrari does it every now and then, but in recent history, I cannot remember McLaren doing a double stack, which then puts you on to think: is it something that they practice regularly, or they don't practice because they don't see it coming up as a thing? Or were
right.
they just too scared to do the double stack? But in
Yeah.
So
all
I think
situations,
Zach was on the comms with the commentary team,
mhm,
and they were asking him, if it's double stack they'll do or what they'll do. So he was saying that based on the data they'll have to make that decision, and they're waiting and seeing, right? So I think at the time they were going to do it, um, it was basically here nor there, right?
yeah,
It was kind of even, but remember the track evolution across each lap at that point, there's be a good few seconds. So I think the track evolution kind of caught them out a little bit there. It probably evolved
probably
a
I
little
guess maybe they
more
thought the
than they
conditions to
anticipated.
listen, but Norris was able to make the entire outlap
Yeah.
and catch him and pass him, or Lando was able to stop and catch back Piastri. So
Yeah. Now, something I want to touch on before we dive on. Big up, Rob. F1 Fantasy have any chat? Thanks for coming through, bro. If you're free, let me know. Saying link. We'd love to have you weighing on the convo. Something I want to talk about before we dive into this and then dive into Hungary. Now we mentioned something very key there, right? If Piastri was, still vying and still had put in the right strategy and was around in the conversation, he would have given Max a bit of trouble, and that would have helped his teammate. Speaking of teammates, is the lack of Sergio, right? Is the lack of Sergio giving the other teams an advantage on Max? Now, yes, Max is very quick. I'm not saying no. But is the lack of Sergio, it's not Sergio's fault, he was sabotage. It's not his fault, right? Of course. But the lack of Sergio Perez, the downfall or going to is the reason why Red Bull is getting a lot of trouble in recent races. Because I think if Red Bull is supposed to be the fastest cars there, and if your teammate is up there with you, it will only show that you will help. Even George, as much as George didn't get to finish, his leading the pack for that while was a great help for Lewis. So it was always good to have a teammate up there. But so is a lack of Sergio causing this trouble here now for Max?
What I was listening to someone discussing was that Sergio may be a lap or two down, but he went on the Inters, got the data for Max. He went on the hard, got the data for Max. So is it really a disadvantage or help to Max himself? Maybe to the team, of course, you're not scoring points, to the team total tally is a disadvantage. But for Max himself, maybe it just might be a secret weapon that they're using to help.
So I like this point that issue is going with, because I did see it. Somebody did a reel on it, and they said that Perez is the best team player. Let's go back to 2021. Mr. Minister Defense practically win Max his first title. That's not his first title, but his first title. And now everybody's complaining. Yes, I'm not complaining. Perez is off his game, and Christian is talking game about, we go find somebody to replace him. Helmut Marko talking to that thing. Even Yuki saying he should be getting his second seat, and the rumors are now that Yuki might go Red Bull, and then next year for 2025, Racing Bull will have a whole fresh team of rookies with Liam Lawson and stuff like that. But yes, Perez not performing is hurting Red Bull Racing, the team, in their constructors fight. Because at the end of the day, if it is you do have one of the best cars on the grid, and only one guy is the man bringing in the brunt to the points on a weekend, because if you look at it, if it is Perez has the same car as Max, and Max is putting it on first, getting that 25 points, and Perez is at least getting podiums, means to say third place, and I think that's 18 to 15 points coming in. So as opposed to Red Bull taking home 25 plus 18 or 25 plus 15, which is like 40 points. Instead of Red Bull taking home 40 points every weekend, they're now taking home just 25 or 30 because Perez is nowhere near the top. So it's his in the team. So that's why Hona and they will talk. But at the same time, Max is the person he's helping the most, because just as Ish said, he's getting the data. Red Bull knew this is the tire to go on because they had the guinea pig that is Checo to experiment with the tires in the weather. And I think that is where I don't like Red Bull. In that, okay, cool, you all want Checo to perform, you all want him to be up there, but you all been treating the man as second fiddle. I mean, at the end of the day, he signed up for that. He signed that contract knowing I am not going to be number one in this team. But only treating him man like dog, boy.
Yep.
And then telling him man he doing nothing. I mean, one, only had him man confidence in the gutter. And then two, if it is you're just using him as a guinea pig to figure out what's the best tire to be on, then he's not going to be as competitive as you all want because he's experimenting and it can either go, this is the tire to go on, or no, this is not the tire to go on. And at the end of the day, his race that is screwed.
Yeah. And come on, this is a drastic dip compared to what he was doing when he was winning races and competing. And of course, they weren't happy with that. But to now have him doing this, and you're saying, nah, that's terrible. I'm not blaming him at all. We all know what they did to his car. Wink, wink. We know what happened. And that is terrible. And someone of his stature and talent should leave. But I know he signed a new contract, so that's tough. That's tough.
I mean,
Talking
you can't
about
only
his
blame
new
on
contract.
Red Bull because he had his moments where he dropped it at the last race on Peyton Gravel and things like that. So he himself had his own set of mistakes. So you can't say, oh, it's all Red Bull, but it's also not all Checo.
Yeah, definitely not Checo. I really feel it for him. Now, if we look at the maths, now Ferrari really dragging the flag thread. Oh gosh, boy, Ferrari. Because if Leclerc and Sainz was really doing this gap,
They would be catching
way closer. Gosh, boy, Ferrari. Every time Ferrari.
No, but I mean, this is still young, eh? And
I'm saying no, but at least since Canada.
No, but to think that gap, if God forbid, or barring anything
unforeseen.
Anything unforeseen. Honestly, we had to put that on our jersey, yeah? But barring anything unforeseen, let's say for some reason Max doesn't win. He DNF, he get crashed into, the car blow up.
Or he finished fifth.
And Ferrari started knocking out consistent podiums.
25 at least points. Second place. At least
25,
second place.
25 by 3.
Come on. And you win a fastest lap.
Them passing Red Bull. So it's the Constructors' Championship is still very
open.
Much wide open. Look, even McLaren, not that far behind. They could catch them too. I mean, disappointment is Mercedes because that hurts in my heart.
Yeah, boy.
They have gone from second in Constructors to jump to where they are now. But at the same time, to see it's still, honestly, first, second, third in Constructors is still very much up for grabs, so to speak. Barring anything unforeseen. It looks as though Red Bull could take it. But if it should be fun, then it's trouble. Like somebody said, Helmut said he leaving. Red Bull tell him, pack up. And he just subtly went and take something from the car that made them lose a tenth or two. And they didn't want to lose what it is. And it's like, if that is what continues to happen, or they upgrade that car without Adrian's help, they are going to suffer, and Ferrari or McLaren are going to take the title from them.
But speaking on Perez and his contract, there is a rumor that there has been inserted a performance.
Yeah, it has a performance clause in it. All contracts usually have a performance clause.
Basically, he have 2 more races because when he signed it was like 3 or 4 races. He have 2 more races to put in some performances, or he's out by the summer.
Correct.
So we could see Danny Rick in the car, or Yuki Tsunoda.
Or Yuki.
You'll faster see Yuki than Danny Rick based on Yuki's performance. Well,
no.
Daniel's
you have to understand
performance.
You have to understand Red Bull rather put Daniel there where he will sit down and chill.
And just be a yes man. Correct.
Yeah.
Who will challenge him. Correct.
Then give you somebody who will challenge him.
Because what, let me ask you a dumb question, right? What gonna change? You bring Yuki, you bring anybody else that's not Danny Rick. What's gonna change? The minute Yuki say, boy, in a fast car, let me come second or third here. Whoa. We don't do that here. We don't do that here.
When you have a team orders for the man to go on,
Come on.
No, but at the same time, Yuki might say, hey, I'm in a good opportunity here. Let me behave myself and just do what the people
but you don't understand. Yuki is young.
True, Yuki is not going to
be Daniel.
Daniel been through that. He knows.
You see look what Yuki doing with a donkey cart. You giving the man a proper piece of machinery now. Come on.
He's going to be fighting everybody and cussing everybody.
I going fit, boy. Let them cuss me out, boy. Let him do what they have to do. No, and he has to get extra security for his car. get his own repair. Don't let nobody from Red Bull touch his vehicle, though. Nobody. They have to be on a lock and key in a safe. Because the minute he finished to his problems, they'll do something stupid. No, Dre, that can't be right. Can't be right. That real messed up. Or at least tell me here what. You could only the highest you can finish is second or third. But don't get vexed with me when I do it, mate. You understand? Tell me that. And then all of a sudden, no, I can't even finish in the top three. Perez can't catch it. No, dog. No, man. No. But
I would love to see what Yuki would do in that car.
I agree. I am excited. I am very excited to see what Yuki could do in that. All right. So, of course, the Hungarian GP coming up. I'm bring up the circuits. So, of course, the action starts from tomorrow. As we know, F1 always starts on a Friday. Well, in Europe, depending on where they go on the time zone. Right? But we do. Let me check the weather by the time. So, Michael, right. So, Michael, you could, as always, say this looks like an anvil, right? As always say that it looks like an anvil, right? So, yeah, no, Michael, take it away now, and I'll do the weather check. I'm gonna do the weather check by the time.
Right. So we fell down. So the nice thing with Hungary is that it has two DRS zones, one right after the other. So if it is a driver plays it right, they could effectively get DRS to make the overtake into one and then get DRS out of one to then pull away from their rival, especially if it is you have people close behind, that will help them as well. So definitely you're gonna see the majority of overtakes going on between 1 and 2. So it's a tight hairpin at 1. In the past, you've seen people mistime their braking into turn 1, lap 1. In 2021, you had that incident where Bottas took out the 2 Red Bulls and I think a McLaren as well. Then last year you had I think it was this guy with Guan Yu taking out Danny Rick and then taking out both of the Alpines. So turn 1, lap 1 is going to be a sticky corner. If especially it is everybody comes out of there. Oh?
Especially if it kind of wet.
Especially if it kind of wet. I mean, last year it was dry and just wet in the back, eh? But
so far less.
Yeah, so turn 1 is gonna be sticky. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens there. That's definitely one to watch. Turn 2 is, and so turn 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are really nice corners that people try to overtake in. You have 2021 where Alonso was the true minister defense and blocked Lewis lap after lap after lap going through that section there until Lewis was able to pull off the move. So you have the tight right-hander of 1, quick left-hand of 2, 3, slide braking, pull through there, 4, 5 is a really nice sweeping corner, heavy braking into 6 and 7, and then 8 double brakes, and then 9 will be flat, 10 will be flat, braking into 11, go in, braking into 12, go right around 12. 14 is also a really nice corner that people are going to be setting up to really put the power down as soon as they come out to try and run down the straight. If it is they have anybody in front of them, pick up a better slipstream on the DRS and hit it around again. It is a 70 lap race because it is a short circuit, so to speak. Fastest lap being, well, the lap record being Lewis in 2020, 1 minute 16. That's pretty short period of time in F1. So it's gonna be a pretty long race, so to speak. And you're gonna see maybe a 2-stop arrangement, because if people start on mediums by around lap 18, lap 20, they're gonna ditch those mediums for some hards. And then coming down to the end, they might switch for some softs or mediums to get to the end of the race. Or hopefully we get some rain, and then it's going to be Great Britain all over again.
Yeah. And we never know. And it seems to be, based on history and stuff, it seems to be that Hamilton loves this particular track.
Yeah, Hamilton has a lot of wins here, and it is a particular track that he loves. Last year, he started on pole.
Russell, I believe, has a win there as well. No, not Russell.
Yeah.
Ocon.
Yeah, that was 2021.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we'll see what happens. I think Lewis will come out strong again, and we'll see if the car is there with him to really give him that kind of boost to see if it is he can put back on pole and fight for anything. He started on pole. I think he ended in fourth last year. Just because the Red Bulls, it ended up being Max, Norris, and Checo. So hopefully Checo could repeat what he did last year and come back, because he did start lower down the order, made his way up to
Right.
third, and I think that was his whole game last year. But he really needs to start back playing that game. If it is he don't qualify that well, he needs to deliver in the race, or if not, qualify
Correct.
high enough and just drive on Sunday.
Well, I think
All
it's
right, let
do
me
or die
dive
for
into.
him now. So.
It definitely is do
Yeah.
or die for him.
Yeah, definitely. Now, of course, as we know or may not know, it was some very torrential rain. That's the best way to describe it during early in the week at Hungary. There was a bit of flooding and whatnot, but so far for Friday, FP1, FP2, sunny skies, light winds are predicted. Saturday, FP3 and qualifying. They're saying there's a 0% chance of rain. But that's during the final practice. But the qualifying, there's a 30% chance of rain during the qualifying, which starts later on. Of course, Sunday, what we care about is a slight chance of rain before the race starts, but they're predicting that during the race, there should be clear skies. Of course, we just see the chuckle of Michael, and Michael will be hoping for rain. And we also know, so Silverstone has been very kind to Lewis. Lewis, and he broke some records there last race. Also,
104 race wins.
Hungary has also been very, very kind to him as well. He has a record, 8 victories and 9 poles. Do with that information what you will. Maybe you might see a back-to-back. Lewis,
And
right?
no, and that'd be the
Maybe.
crazy thing. He will go 9. He would have gone 9 in Britain, and now he could go 9 in Hungary.
All
That'd
right,
be
just see. If we
a
ask the
life of
family,
nines.
you know, you never know. You never know, right? So we hoping. Well, Michael will be hoping that it goes that way, but it definitely looking good. But you never know. Maybe Max might be back in winners' row. It's been a while since he's been on winners' row, which we have not been able to say in a very long time. Michael, it's been a very long time since we could say that. That is
You ain't
Mike.
happy.
I am very happy. Plus, this season is not going like last season, especially for
It is
any
not.
new friends or
This season
new people.
alone, you've had like
You're
6
saying that,
different race winners so
but I
far,
think
which is epic.
there's a
Yeah,
stat that Max only went one time across the finish line in Red Bull without scoring points, which is crazy.
right. Yeah, yeah. Doing his thing, but once he's not winning, he's have to finish fifth. He could finish fifth every race and stay there. But
I
it's
mean,
helping with the excitement. It's helping with the
if
excitement.
McLaren and Ferrari is the ones ahead of him in that fifth, he Red Bull in trouble.
Pressure in the camp, especially if Perez in 15th and all kind of bacchanal and not
Exactly.
up the road. Pressure in the
Well, I
camp for
mean, if
him.
Perez do something soon, it may not be Perez much longer.
Curtains just now. Yeah. All right, so let's touch a little bit on the fantasy and then dive out. All right. So, of course, just focusing on team 2. So,
No, but if it is, look at this team. This team did
yeah,
amazing in Britain. Can we look back quick?
that's true. Of course, of course, of course, of course.
Because all we
Completed.
know, all aside from Joe, Great Britain was a pretty good week.
So 179, 58 points from Max, 14 from Nico. The only person is Guang Yu. The constructors did
Yeah.
well. 15 from Williams. Come on, bro. Right?
Exactly.
59 from McLaren. Yuki 7. Carlos give us 28. It's just Joe. Only Joe.
It's just Joe.
Only
And honestly,
us.
I mean, mine's probably looking a lot better because I had Lewis on my teams.
Right. Yes, Dan, it's not bad at all, actually. Definitely not bad at all. This is, man, who would have thought a Williams constructor and a Haas driver would give you
Facts.
29 points. 29
Big
points, bro.
facts.
Come on, bro. 59 from McLaren. So the same thing we said, we couldn't afford the drivers, but it makes sense to have the constructor. So it's working out well so far. It's making sense. If you don't have the McLaren drivers, right, it does not make sense not having Max at all. Max is still Max, because even if Max, let's say, qualifies badly, right? So let's say not even, let's say Q4, I'm just saying, right? Is overtaking potential, or worse yet, let's say he qualifies Q10. I'm just saying, overtaking potential. He can overtake almost anyone on that track. And this is a long race. I think the long races benefit him because there's only so much that someone can defend against Max for so long. Because let's be real, if Silverstone had 5 more laps, Max was catching Lewis, bro. Max was catching Lewis.
True.
Barring anything unforeseen. Nothing against Lewis. Just there's only so much,
Pure
and
facts, yeah, pure facts.
and the hards was a great strategy, and it wasn't degrading as much as the other tires were, right? But so does he? So when I'm picking up a pattern and watching, and then of course, as I said in my article, tracks that are difficult to overtake, and of course, if you have your teammate with you, so Max should, to me, barring anything unforeseen, should win. So of course, I will keep it 2 times on Max, is just to see if we could replace Joe, if it makes sense trying to replace Joe, because it wouldn't have anybody else sideways to move to see if we could bring in somebody. I don't think it have
Well,
anybody.
we could take a try and see, because as I mentioned, maybe we could play a little bit with Carlos Sainz's budget right now, because I don't really expect him to be in the podium. So
But you
maybe that's
expect him to
something
be in
that
the points? You expect him in the points at least?
the points, yeah, for sure. But the podium is maybe something that we could target with a Norris or a Piastri, maybe even a Lewis. So
All right, well, Piastri is 22.3.
if we take off
So
signs,
if we take
how
off
much we
signs,
have?
we will have 20. We have
We have
30. Hold on.
7.9 right now.
We'll have 30.1.
Right, who's the cheapest we could get?
Right, cheapest of the two is Oscar.
No,
Oscar is
cheapest. No,
22.3.
the cheapest we could get just in general.
Or
Not
just in
recent.
general, is
Logan.
Logan Sargent with 5.2.
But do you want to take Logan? You already have the Williams car.
Yeah, we are. No, I just saying
Is-
that cheapest. Yeah, that's the
No,
cheapest.
like, is Pierre Gasly with a shout?
Mm.
I would honestly put Ocon over Gasly
And
in
if you go
terms
up a
of
bit more,
performance.
Yeah, but if we
price.
pick Ocon price, because we'll have to go for somebody like George or something probably.
I mean, but if it is you
Ocon.
do Lewis and if
we
it is
do
you do
Lewis
Lewis
and
and
Stroll.
then I don't think you could do Stroll
Like, I
too.
do Stroll.
No, if
see,
you do
Lewis
and
soon.
then, if you do Lewis and then Albon, I mean Sargent, I mean you have at least 3 guys who could consistently be in the points, plus you have the McLaren who will be in the points. So of the 7 elements of your team,
We take
4
a
of the
L.
7 getting your points, you know? Or not
True.
47. 5 of the 7 will be getting your points.
In a wet race, I'd go Lewis over George if possible.
Yeah, just playing.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll chuck in a Lewis, and we'll chuck in. Well, you have no choice. Chuck in Sargent. You have no choice. All right. So Max, Nico, Yuki, Lewis, Logan, McLaren, Williams. All right, and of
I
course
would
we
make
leave.
that change.
We will change in.
Let me see if we take off Williams and the two we just play with.
Yeah, but have
could we-
nobody. That
could we
wouldn't do
get
much.
Haas
Haas. Let's see how much is Haas. That isn't doing much. Haas is 10. Can't even afford that. Yeah, the patient in this is too much.
I think the lateral switch from Sainz to Lewis or George, for me, wouldn't really make much of a difference.
All right, hold on. What I'm thinking, no, I think shifting signs is not half bad idea. But if we not, if we had to be confident in the man too, we'd be like, right, I think he could do it. Da 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 da. Let me see. Oscar is 22.3, so same price, right? So not a big difference. And we still have to get a constructor and a driver. So you see, yeah, that's why we have Williams too, because Williams was the cheapest. And we left with 7.8, so yep, still have to go back to Sergeant. Or Bottas or Joe. So I guess that is exactly why we had Joe.
Yeah.
That is why we had Joe. And we already have a Williams, so I mean, yeah, the price it really prices you out. And then that's why we didn't go for Oscar, because we already have McLaren, all that. So we're going right back to where we were. Back to where we were. Yeah.
I mean,
one of
my teams, I have Lewis, Oscar, Albon, Danny Rick, Alonso, Red Bull, and Sauber. And they were able to pick up 196 in Great Britain.
For long term or medium term, I wouldn't go with Danny Rick and Sauber. Not in the current
I
form.
agree, but I mean, it worked that weekend.
It worked.
Yeah, it worked.
Not in the current form for long.
Yeah, agreed. My second team, I'm actually able to have Max, Lewis, Albon, Sonoda, Hulkenberg, McLaren, and Sauber.
Ooh, McLaren and Sauber.
Which, I mean, to me, the only 2 weak points in that team is
Sauber.
Albon and Sauber, and even Albon delivered.
And Albon got points. Yeah, and Albon got points. Yeah.
Correct. So honestly, I'm pretty satisfied with the teams that I have.
Yeah. I think we could fight up with this and take this, and just see what happens. We'll have at least 4 of the drivers and 1 constructor should do something. You never know. Maybe Albon again in the points.
And it's a win-win. Either Lewis get points or we get a Carlos win, and we regret it, but we get a Carlos win.
Yeah, Carlos win. I mean, that would be great, but nah, Lewis or Max or nothing. Now, any chips? Anyone wants any chips? Yes or not yet? We have real chips. We use no chips yet. Any chips yet, or we'll save it for the next few coming up? We have wildcards.
I mean,
so we still have
what does the limitless do again?
You can spend any amount of money.
Yeah, I think the limitless is something to use on a sprint weekend.
Okay,
yeah,
sure.
Autopilot is when it is they set the teams.
Top scoring with down this top scoring driver will automatically get the 2 times boost. So whoever scored the highest.
I would also say that's something good to get on a sprint weekend. Although I don't think the chips apply to sprints, huh?
Right.
They don't apply to the sprint itself, but
we race. You race itself, yeah. The Sunday.
So I mean that could be one to play, or they could do the extra DRS, but even that is definitely a
I would say hold it for now.
Thing.
But something I could probably do is the 0 hits.
That's what I was thinking.
But even say use that 0 hits when you have a sketchy team, eh?
Well, no. What I'm gonna say is, so given the other races to come, you think this one is because you said from lap 1 we might have problems already. Safety car might come out from not lap 1, turn 1. Sorry, I mean, right?
From turn 1 lap 1, it could be problems.
It could be issues already.
For real. So I would say non-negative. If you want to play a chip, is not a bad chip to play this weekend.
It's not play this weekend, right? So so we could always say that. So if we don't use it ourselves, it's not a bad chip for this weekend. That's not a bad thread. I could write that. Also, now then you could also say that if your top 5, if the top 6 of course, whoever qualifying the top 6 in potential danger, or hopefully they maneuver it well, but then the middle sector might be an issue. And then you never know. Logan, mind his business, handle his race to 70 something laps, and come through and get some points there, but if that third is really as scary as you said, so based on what you read off there, so it's not a bad one, not a bad one. But we got to start doing some trips and boost up some points at some point. We'll look ahead, look at the schedule coming up, and try and boost up some points. All right, so Ishmael, I know you say leaving just now, so I'll let you anything you want to say before we wrap up, before we leave? Up for the upcoming race, anything at all?
I would say I wouldn't make too much of changes within the next race or two. Wait for the summer break and then tackle it fresh from then. And I think to mention also, we didn't mention, but I think Kevin is no longer going to continue next season. I think that's confirmed, right?
Yeah, he's no longer to be continuing with Haas.
Yeah, so just some news to mention.
Yeah. Michael?
Yeah, I say look forward to a really fun and enjoyable race. If it is you are in Trinidad and Tobago, you're not doing anything on Sunday, check out Caribbean F1 on Instagram and the website. You can probably come down to the watch party. It's on Chagrin Road opposite the Oval at a bar. Hungarian breakfast will be served. So by all means, come through. You'll see Jared and I there most likely. Watch the race with like-minded persons who love F1. I know they're trying to start a really vibrant community of F1 lovers in Trinidad and Tobago and by extension the Caribbean. So come through. As I would always say, watch the sport for more than just the race itself. Look for the behind the scenes. Look for the strategy and the science behind the sport. It's a beautiful thing when it says you approach the sport for more than just cars going around a track. I heard somebody say they went from watching Formula One and asking a question as to why do you watch cars just going around in circles to being somebody who spends the thousands of dollars to actually go to an F1 race and then plan their weekends around a race. So I'd always say enjoy the sport, have fun with it, and welcome to Formula One.
Yeah. All right. I want to thank everyone for coming through. I want to thank guys in the chat. Thanks, Michael and Ishmael, for coming through. Thanks everyone that watched the video. Please drop a like on the video, share the video. Of course, as Michael said, we'll be at All Out on Trackage Road on Sunday for the race. So come out. Have your say. I'll have my mics with me, so I'll interview some of the fans that are watching. We'll try and get some content out of that race. And yeah, happy picking, and hopefully your DRS, your 2 times wins the race. And of course, don't forget to vote for your driver of the day on race day. It helps a lot. They get points in the fantasy, right? So please do your part. I don't know who I want yet. Normally I know who I want from the start, but I don't know who I want yet. Of course, Michael, before we go, quick podium predictions, real quick fire before we roll.
Quick podium prediction. Third place Norris, second place Lewis, first place Max.
Right. I don't think I could, even with in my wildest dreams, come up with something. Yeah, I think that's fair. Norris third, Lewis second, and Max third. I think this will be his race because it's too much again, unless something happens, but too much laps for them to hold him off. I'm not saying they can't, but he has to be.
There's too much laps to hold him off, and then I think it's just a circuit that he does really well at as well.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be an interesting race, but I honestly think he will be the one to edge out this weekend.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Well, thanks everyone for watching again. Take care, like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you all in the next one. Take care. Happy picking.
Bye, guys.